Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Stranger Things Season 5, Chapter 3, The Turnbow Trap. This was written by Caitlin Schneiderhan and directed by Frank Darabont, who is famous for directing The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and his involvement in Season 1 of Walking Dead. This is the first episode he's directed of Stranger Things. He's going to do 2 in the season. Before I jump into my review, please make sure no spoilers for anything that happens after this episode. I have not seen the next episode. Please keep the spoilers out of the comments so people can enjoy this episode by episode without getting ruined. I'm going to break down this review into 3 parts because this episode is broken up into 3 different storylines going on at once. We'll start with everything going on with Elle and Hop. Then we'll go to our main crew in Hawkins, and then we will go to everything going on with Holly. With Elle and Hop, you see Hop is stabbing the sack that is on the wall, and Elle is trying to explode one of the sacks and permanently destroy it. They both aren't having success. I believe this is the same type of sack that we saw Dr. K with in episode 1 on the table, so she was probably investigating more into that wall and obviously knows more about the wall than anybody in the show. It's great that Hopper gives Elle beef jerky to recharge her battery, and she ends up liking the beef jerky. It grows on her as the episode goes on. Now, what's nutty is the military shows up here, and we see they are using on the hedgehog this sonic blast on Elle, and she calls it her kryptonite. So this is a big turn of events here, and this is going to be problematic that they even have this kind of weapon they could use, because this can get in the way of what 11 needs to get done against Vecna later on. I love in this episode about the Turnbow family, they actually have this fight between the military and Hopper and 11 through the Turnbow Realty billboard, and I love him shooting through it and protecting Elle, and then her coming out and actually throwing a car onto a guy, knocking him into another car. That was sick. And of course, when Hopper has the grenades, he throws them up with that smile on his face. That was definitely a nod to his character of Red Guardian in the Marvel Universe. But they have a captured soldier here. Hopper just wants to know when the next convoy is going so they can get out of there. But Elle's like, we need to find out more. And she's in that Will mindset too, like, this is do or die now time. We don't have time to dilly-dally anymore. She's like, we need to know about this wall. She brings up the compromise speech that Hop gave her and that it's half happy. So he's like, damn it, so he's got to go with it now. My favorite moment with Hopper when he's interrogating the soldier is when the soldier is sobbing over the men he lost because of him. And Hopper's like, oh my God, my heart is breaking for you. That was a great moment. But we see Elle goes into his head. She learns about Dr. K through him, sees where the base location is in the Upside Down, and there is this mysterious metal door there, and she senses the kryptonite, the sonic power that is holding someone just as powerful as her, which she believes is Vecna. So maybe Vecna is in there and everything he's doing is from that location, but I'm not so sure if she's right about that. We'll see. But a lot of intriguing stuff going on with Elle and Hopper there. Now let's go to our main crew in Hawkins. I just love every moment with Joyce. It's so funny, and I love she passes Will and Robin on the bikes, and they're like, do you think she saw us? And then she does that hard turn of like, of course Joyce saw you. I love when she's laying into Robin, and Robin apologizes and says, it must be my tone. My mother says I perpetually sound insincere. What a great line. And Maya Hawke is just killing it this season. But when she's laying into Robin, Will's like, I'm right here. And he finally puts his foot down to his mother. He needed to do this and grow up here. He's like, I'm not a kid anymore. Your plan sucked, and gives her that line, we can't play it safe anymore, which gets a nice little payoff later on, which we'll get to. Now, while this is happening, we cut to a scene where at Holly's school, Henry appears now to Derek. This is all going to lead now to us getting the reveal of Will finding this out. That is why Robin sends out the bat signal, as Dustin says, a nice nod to Robin from Batman. And you see here, Dustin tells the rest of the crew he injured himself on a bike. So he's not opening up to Lucas and Mike about what exactly happened with the bullies yet. And I'm sure that bully Andy's going to appear again to him and get in the way too at some point. Now, Will informs everybody that Derek Turnbow is the next target. He catches everyone up that he can see who Vecna is targeting now and that he is this connection to him. But you see Nancy's connecting it's a different strategy of Vecna this time, that he is actually appearing as Henry to earn trust. So their plan is to save Derek and at the same time stop whatever mystery plan Vecna has got going on. So they decide they have to kidnap Derek. This is when Jonathan asks his mom, so you're cool with kidnapping a child? And she says, now is not the time to play it safe, Jonathan, while looking at Will. That was such a good payoff. I love that moment. So she's starting to learn from Will, which is great. But Mike makes the grand plan here, the Turnbow Trap. They need to knock out the family. And that's where Robin's like, I know somewhere we can get some benzos, where Joyce's face and Steve shaking his head was priceless. And part of the plan is to track the Demogorgon back to Vecna's lair. Cut to the school, and we finally see Mr. Clark again. It's been a while, and people wanted to see him in this final season, as did I, so it's cool to see him. And I think we'll see him again. I think he's going to be important with helping them figure stuff out when Hawkins gets crazy later on, which I'm imagining will happen. But what is he talking about? He's talking about wormholes, saying they allow matter to travel between dimensions and galaxies without crossing the space between, and says they are extremely unstable. So this is what I think is obviously the area we're seeing with Vecna, and which will be revealed later, Max and Holly, and what's going on there. This is a wormhole. And that wall is blocking it and somehow holding it up too. Now, it's great to see Erica back here as well. She's the one answering the questions about the wormhole, but this is revealed to be the person they need to drug the Turnbows, which is just crazy concept on paper. But of course, Tina isn't her best friend anymore. Derek's sister, she was her best friend. But Mike turns her around to the idea by saying, hey, Tina's not going to like you after this for sure. She's like, well, why aren't you open with that? Now, Robin will bring Will to get the benzos. It's revealed she was stealing these benzos from an old lady at the hospital. This is where she gets a great response to Will saying about Vicky, you could always kiss her again. And Robin says, I knew that was your goddamn bowl cut. Such a funny moment. But there's a moment here where she's guiding him on how to read signals and someone's interest in you. So you're wondering, wait a minute, is Will not quitting on Mike, or is there someone else we haven't met yet that he likes? We'll see. Now, Murray gets them all the supplies they need for this operation. Another great line. Murray is always so funny, but he says spark plugs for Bilbo Baggins, giving it to Dustin, and Dustin gives him an attitude about not getting everything he wanted, and I love Murray just laying into him that he needs to be grateful. Now, Dustin drills through Steve's whip because he knows they need a quicker car than the van now, and Steve is so distraught over this, and just adding to the great moments of Steve and Dustin together. And we get a big reveal here that Murray is trying to encourage Jonathan to do the proposal now that he's been planning with Nancy. We see there's a ring in the music that Murray's been giving him to set the mood. So you're wondering, is he going to propose to Nancy? Is she going to say yes? Is this going to break Steve's heart? Or is she going to actually reject him and open a door for Steve? We'll see. Now, I died at this moment when we see Derek's room and his sister Tina walks in and she says it smells like ass in here. Dipshit. And he says, probably from all my farts. I was crying at this. This humor always gets me. And then the doorbell rings to the house. Miss Turnbow says to Tina, get the door and be polite unless it's a Mormon or a Democrat. Another moment, just the writing here was killing it with the humor. But it's Erica at the door. She appears in this apology mode with the pie. We also learned from Lucas in the car that Tina is legitimately a villainous person. So keep that in mind too. That's going to be important with Tina when she wakes up. Now at the dinner table, Tina doesn't want to eat the pie. She says she's got to watch her calories. And then Derek calls her Fatty McFat. And then Tina and Erica start fighting about what happened in PE now, of course. But then the family around them starts collapsing. And then Erica has to inject Tina with the benzos. And Tina's scream here was actually hysterical. So good. It's just a wild scene. So now they start setting the Turnbow Trap and it begins. Steve gets a chainsaw. That got me really excited. I cannot wait to see him kill some Demogorgons with a chainsaw. You know it's coming. While this is getting prepped and they're setting the trap, Joyce and Will have a heart-to-heart. She brings up the night all the time that Will went missing. Remember, their anniversary's coming soon. And feels the guilt for not knowing her own son was missing for 8 hours. He says, Mom, it's not your fault. But they have a good conversation about they really just need to trust each other at this point in their lives. And it's a two-way road. So I really like this and that growth in their relationship. And I'm excited to see them work together when things are about to hit the fan, like next episode. Scares you for Joyce's safety in the show, too, that she's having these big reveal moments now and these heart-to-hearts. It just always worries you about, is this character going to be safe? Now, I love Robin is like feeling so guilty about this. She's like, if it doesn't work, I'm going to feel terrible. She's worried also about the consequences of it. That's why she's teasing Steve about his lawyer parents, if they could actually help him against a rich family. But this is when the lights start to flicker and it's game on. The Demogorgon enters Derek's bedroom. This is where we get to see the use of the dummy to fool the Demogorgon, and Lucas gets to throw some water balloons. He's always got the great shot. And like I said in my previous review, I can't wait to see him use a sniper this season. You know it's coming. And Nancy shooting the tracker out of her weapon of choice always. The shotgun was awesome. Nancy's character just gets better every season. And Mike had a big moment here with the shovel, and I like he's getting more involved this season too. Now, Dustin and Steve know it's time to follow it because the tracker's in it, but I love they first get a jump scare from Nancy, like they were totally thinking it was the Demogorgon. But Derek wakes up, and that's when Will's like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Vecna has seen them. He knows where they are. So this is going to set up some big barn stuff to happen here the next episode. So really amazing stuff with everything going on in Hawkins this episode, and the whole idea of the Turnbow Trap was excellent. So let's finish off with everything about the Holly storyline. So she is in this mystery world in Henry's house with Henry, and he's just saying lies to her like, as soon as your parents heal, they will join us. He says he's keeping them safe from the monsters. He is the master manipulator. We saw him do this with Eleven when she was young. He gives her her favorite breakfast, her favorite toys. He can read her mind, so she knows these things. But he informs her that Derek is coming there, who she doesn't like. And he says, well, if he misbehaves, I'll send him back to the monsters. But Henry asks one thing of Holly. He says, do not go into the woods. So if you know Henry's saying that, you know there's good in the woods. He says, I'm glad I saved you first. You're the brightest of them all, which is also important about Holly, and he can see and read minds, so he's not lying when he says that. So someone's watching from the bushes, so right away I was like, okay, this is Max, because we know Max is in some state here in a coma, but somewhere part of Vecna, so this makes sense. That's why he wouldn't want someone to go in the woods. That would be the good that is looking out for Holly. But Holly's having her great Home Alone-esque day. I don't like her putting on Henry's Boy Scout medal, though, covering Holly the Heroic. That's not good luck. I want that off of her. But someone rings the doorbell. She thinks it's Derek, but this is where she goes to the mailbox. We know obviously it's Max, but this is the map Max leaves for her. And I love Max actually detailed all the trees in the map. It's a very nice drawn map, and wants Holly to get the X and says it's from Henry. That's how she was going to convince her. Holly's conflicted what to do here, but she looks at the Holly the Heroic necklace and says, what would you do? Thank God Mike had that talk with her. It's interesting. It's really cool that when she goes out into the woods, she sees these scorpions on what looks like desert ground, and it looks like desert rock, so it makes you think of Mad Max environment, hinting at Mad Max coming herself. So really, really cool, and it was awesome to see Max again and Sadie sync. So what a cliffhanger, an exciting way to get to our big final hour-and-a-half finale of part 1. So I'm pumped to see it. I'm pumped to review it. Let me hear all your theories about it, what you think's gonna happen next, what you thought of this episode. I love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Hit that sub button so you don't miss one of my reviews of Stranger Things. I'm also doing It, Welcome to Derry, and I do celebrity interviews as well. And I'll see you next time.